For most people, a nickel is just 5 cents. It's the kind of coin that gets tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, or spent without a second thought. But what if one ordinary-looking nickel from 1981 could tell a story about American history, hidden collector treasures, and the surprising details that make some coins worth far more than their face value? Today, we're taking a closer look at the 1981 no-mint mark Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that millions of Americans have seen, but very few have truly examined. At first glance, the 1981 Jefferson Nickel doesn't seem special. It carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous home, Monticello, on the back. Yet behind this simple design is a fascinating story stretching across decades of American coinage. The Jefferson Nickel series first appeared in 1938. Before that, the United States produced the Buffalo nickel, one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. But after 25 years, officials decided it was time for a new design. The honor of appearing on America's 5-cent coin went to Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the nation's founding fathers. The design was created by sculptor Felix Schlag. His portrait of Jefferson appeared on the front of the coin, while the reverse featured Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia estate. This design would become one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Fast forward to 1981. America was entering a new decade. Gas prices, inflation, and economic uncertainty dominated headlines. Ronald Reagan had just become president. Personal computers were beginning to appear in homes and offices. Yet while the nation was changing rapidly, the Jefferson Nickel remained remarkably familiar. In 1981, the United States Mint produced Jefferson Nickels at 2 primary facilities. Coins made in Philadelphia carried no mint mark. Coins produced in Denver displayed a small D mint mark. This means that a 1981 nickel without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For many newer collectors, the absence of a mint mark can create confusion. Some people assume that a missing mint mark automatically means the coin is rare. In reality, Philadelphia nickels traditionally carried no mint mark for much of American coin history. Therefore, a 1981 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark is exactly how the coin was intended to be produced. Even so, that doesn't mean every example is worth only 5 cents. Let's look at the coin itself. The 1981 Jefferson Nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition had been used since the Civil War era and gave the coin its distinctive silver-gray appearance. The coin weighs 5 grams and measures just over 21 millimeters in diameter. On the front, Jefferson faces left. Above him appears the word Liberty, along with the year 1981. The national motto, "In God We Trust," is displayed to the left of his portrait. Turn the coin over and you'll see Monticello standing proudly in the center. The word Monticello appears above the building, while 5 cents and United States of America appear below. The Latin motto E pluribus unum sits across the top. Millions of these nickels were produced, which is why circulated examples remain common today. But collectors know that rarity is not always about low mintage. Sometimes condition makes all the difference. Think about how nickels are used. They pass through countless hands, cash registers, vending machines, and pockets. Because of their constant circulation, many examples become scratched, worn, or damaged over time. Finding a 1981 no-mint mark nickel in average condition is easy. Finding one in near-perfect condition is another story entirely. Collectors carefully grade coins based on preservation. A coin that appears almost exactly as it did when it left the mint can command dramatically higher prices than a heavily worn example. This is where the story becomes interesting. Many circulated 1981 Philadelphia nickels are worth only face value or slightly more. However, uncirculated examples with strong details and original luster can attract collector attention. The highest quality specimens are often graded by professional grading services. These organizations examine the coin under magnification and assign a numerical grade. The closer a coin is to perfection, the higher the grade. When a 1981 no-mint mark Jefferson Nickel receives a very high grade, its value can increase significantly. Collectors are often willing to pay impressive amounts for top population examples because so few survive in exceptional condition. But condition isn't the only factor. Errors can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Throughout the minting process, mistakes occasionally occur. These errors create unique coins that collectors eagerly search for. Some 1981 nickels have been found with off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during the striking process. As a result, part of the design may be missing while a blank area remains visible. Other examples show die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface. These occur when the metal dies used to strike coins begin to crack from repeated use. Collectors have also reported double die characteristics on some Jefferson nickels from various years. Doubling occurs when the die receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, causing parts of the design or lettering to appear doubled. While major error varieties from 1981 are not especially common, any genuine mint error can increase a coin's value depending on its visibility and rarity. Another important factor is something called full steps. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello features a staircase leading to the entrance. Under magnification, collectors examine these steps very carefully. If all the steps are sharply defined and uninterrupted, the coin may qualify for a full steps designation. This designation is highly desirable because it indicates an exceptionally strong strike. Many coins lose these details during the minting process. As a result, examples displaying complete steps are often worth much more than ordinary specimens. This tiny architectural feature has become one of the most important characteristics in Jefferson nickel collecting. Now let's talk about value. Most circulated 1981 no-mint mark nickels are worth only a small premium over face value. You might find them in change every now and then. However, uncirculated examples can be worth several dollars, particularly if they display attractive surfaces and strong eye appeal. Professionally graded coins in very high mint state grades can sell for substantially more. Exceptional examples with full steps designations have achieved prices far beyond what most people would expect from a 5-cent coin. In some cases, premium quality specimens have sold for hundreds of dollars at auction. These are not ordinary nickels pulled from circulation. They represent some of the finest surviving examples known to collectors. This illustrates an important lesson in coin collecting. Value is often determined not by age alone, but by rarity, condition, demand, and preservation. So how can you tell if your 1981 no-mint mark nickel is worth examining more closely? Start by looking at the date. Make sure it reads 1981. Next, check the area to the right of Jefferson's portrait where a mint mark would normally appear on Denver coins. If there is no mint mark, the coin was struck in Philadelphia. Then examine the overall condition. Does the coin still have original shine? Are the details sharp? Is there noticeable wear on Jefferson's hair, face, or coat? Turn the coin over and inspect Monticello carefully. Look at the steps beneath the building. Strong, uninterrupted steps can make a significant difference to collectors. Also watch for unusual characteristics such as doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or other minting errors. One important warning for collectors is to avoid cleaning coins. Many people believe cleaning makes coins more valuable. In reality, cleaning often damages the surface and can reduce collector value dramatically. Professional collectors generally prefer coins with original surfaces, even if they show some natural aging. Another interesting fact about the 1981 Jefferson nickel is how many people unknowingly own one. Because Philadelphia produced such a large number of nickels, examples remain hidden in jars, collections, and old coin albums throughout the country. Every year, collectors continue searching through rolls of nickels hoping to find high-grade survivors or overlooked varieties. This treasure hunt aspect is one reason coin collecting remains so popular. Unlike many hobbies, coin collecting combines history, art, economics, and discovery. Every coin has traveled through time. Every scratch and mark tells part of its journey. The 1981 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel may not be the rarest coin ever produced, but it serves as a perfect example of how ordinary objects can become fascinating when viewed through the eyes of a collector. A coin worth only 5 cents can reveal stories about American manufacturing, presidential history, minting technology, and collector passion. Thomas Jefferson himself once believed that knowledge was one of the greatest treasures a person could possess. In a way, this humble nickel reflects that idea. The more you learn about it, the more interesting it becomes. Today, collectors continue to search for pristine examples, full-step specimens, and unusual errors. They study tiny details invisible to most people. They preserve these coins not because of their spending power, but because of the history they represent. So the next time you receive change or come across an old coin jar, take a closer look at the nickels hiding inside. You might discover a 1981 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel waiting to tell its story. And while most examples won't make anyone rich overnight, one exceptional coin could be worth far more than 5 cents. That's the magic of coin collecting. Sometimes the most ordinary objects hold the most surprising secrets. And somewhere, perhaps in a forgotten drawer or an old family collection, another remarkable 1981 Jefferson nickel may still be waiting to be found. The coin sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 5 cents. In fact, some collectors spend years searching through old change hoping to find one specific nickel that most people ignore. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, a design millions of Americans have seen countless times. But under the right conditions, a 1982 Jefferson nickel can become a fascinating piece of American coin history and, in rare cases, a surprisingly valuable collectible. The story begins in 1982, a year when the United States was facing economic challenges. Inflation had affected the cost of producing coins, and the U.S. Mint was constantly evaluating ways to keep coin production efficient. During this period, billions of coins were being struck every year to meet demand across the country. Among them was the 1982 Jefferson nickel with the D Mint mark. The letter D indicates that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the United States. Millions of Americans handled these nickels without ever giving them a second thought. Yet today, collectors continue to examine these coins carefully, searching for hidden details, unusual errors, and exceptional conditions that can transform a simple 5-cent piece into something much more desirable. To understand why this coin attracts attention, it helps to know a little about the Jefferson Nickel series itself. The Jefferson Nickel first appeared in 1938. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The design was created by sculptor Felix Schlag. On the front, known as the obverse, Jefferson's portrait appears facing left. On the back, known as the reverse, is Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. By 1982, this design had already been circulating for more than 4 decades. Americans had become familiar with it, making the Jefferson nickel one of the most recognizable coins in the country. The 1982 D nickel continued that tradition. Although it was intended for everyday use, it became part of a larger historical timeline that collectors now study in great detail. One of the first things collectors examine is the coin's composition. Unlike pennies, which have undergone major metal changes over the years, the Jefferson nickel has remained relatively consistent. The 1982 D nickel contains 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs 5 grams and measures just over 21 millimeters in diameter. Because of this durable metal blend, many examples survived decades of circulation. However, surviving is not the same as surviving in excellent condition. Most 1982 D nickels spent years passing from hand to hand. They were dropped into cash registers, carried in pockets, tossed into jars, and forgotten in drawers. As a result, truly pristine examples are much harder to find than many people realize. Collectors place enormous value on condition. A coin that appears worn, scratched, or dull may only be worth its face value. But a coin with sharp details, original mint luster, and minimal contact marks can command significantly higher prices. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels in 1982. Because of this large production number, many people assume every example must be common and inexpensive. That assumption is not always correct. In coin collecting, rarity is often connected to condition rather than production numbers. A coin may be common in worn grades but extremely scarce in top-quality mint condition. This is where the 1982D nickel becomes interesting. Professional grading services use detailed scales to evaluate coins. The highest grades are reserved for coins that appear almost exactly as they did when they left the mint. For the 1982D nickel, examples receiving top grades can become surprisingly valuable because very few survive with exceptional quality. Another factor that excites collectors is the search for mint errors. Coin errors occur when something unusual happens during the production process. These mistakes can create unique coins that stand apart from ordinary examples. Some collectors search for off-center strikes, where the design is not perfectly aligned on the coin blank. Others look for doubled features, where parts of the design appear duplicated due to a striking issue. There are also die cracks, die chips, and other unusual varieties that can increase collector interest. While most 1982D nickels are normal circulation coins, finding an authentic error can dramatically change a coin's value. Imagine discovering a coin worth only 5 cents under normal circumstances, then learning that a rare minting mistake makes it worth hundreds of dollars. That possibility keeps collectors searching through rolls of nickels even today. One particularly important feature on Jefferson Nickels is known as full steps. If you examine the image of Monticello on the reverse, you'll notice a series of steps leading to the building. On most circulated nickels, these steps become weak or worn. Even many uncirculated coins lack fully visible steps because of striking quality issues at the mint. Collectors highly value coins showing complete, uninterrupted steps. These are known as full-step specimens. A 1982D nickel displaying strong full steps can be much more desirable than an ordinary example of the same date. This tiny detail, often overlooked by casual observers, can make a significant difference in value. Over the years, auction records have demonstrated how condition affects prices. A typical circulated 1982D nickel may still be worth only a few cents. An attractive uncirculated example might sell for a few dollars. But when a coin reaches the highest certified grades and possesses exceptional strike quality, prices can climb dramatically. Some premium examples have sold for hundreds of dollars, while elite specimens with superior preservation have achieved even stronger results in specialized collector markets. These sales remind collectors that value is not always determined by age alone. Many people assume only coins from the 1800s can be valuable. The reality is that modern coins can also become highly desirable when they possess the right combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Of course, whenever money is involved, questions about authenticity naturally arise. Fortunately, identifying a genuine 1982D Jefferson nickel is relatively straightforward. The first step is checking the date. The coin should clearly display the year 1982 on the obverse beneath Jefferson's portrait. Next, locate the mint mark. On Jefferson nickels of this era, the mint mark appears on the front of the coin near the date. A genuine Denver issue will display a small d. Collectors also examine the weight and dimensions. A normal example should weigh approximately 5 grams and match official mint specifications. Any coin that appears significantly different in size, weight, or metal color deserves closer examination. Magnification can help reveal important details. Many experienced collectors use jeweler's loupes to inspect surfaces, lettering, and potential error features. If a coin appears unusually valuable, professional authentication may be worthwhile. Third-party grading services can verify authenticity, assign a grade, and encapsulate the coin in a protective holder. This process provides confidence for both buyers and sellers. One surprising fact about coin collecting is how often valuable pieces are discovered in ordinary places. People have found collectible coins in old piggy banks, inherited collections, estate sales, and even rolls obtained from local banks. The 1982D nickel remains a popular target for roll hunters because it is still possible to find examples in circulation. Unlike many classic rarities that disappeared long ago, this coin occasionally turns up where least expected. That possibility adds excitement to the hobby. Another fascinating detail involves how coin values evolve over time. When the 1982D nickel was first released, Nobody viewed it as a future collectible. It was simply another nickel entering circulation. Decades later, collectors study mint records, grading populations, and surviving examples to determine which coins are becoming scarce. This transformation from everyday money to collectible artifact highlights one of the most interesting aspects of numismatics. Coins are time capsules. Every scratch, every mark, and every year of circulation tells part of a story. A 1982 nickel may have traveled through countless cities, passed through thousands of hands, and witnessed decades of American history. Yet it still survives today as a small metallic connection to the past. Collectors love this coin because it represents an accessible entry point into the hobby. You do not need a fortune to begin searching for one. You do not need advanced equipment. All it takes is curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look closely at details most people ignore. For experienced collectors, the challenge lies in locating high-grade examples, full-step specimens, and unusual mint errors. For beginners, the excitement comes from discovering that even ordinary pocket change can hold hidden possibilities. That sense of discovery is what keeps the hobby alive generation after generation. Every coin has a story. Some stories involve famous historical events. Others involve rare minting mistakes. And some involve common coins that became uncommon simply because so few survived in exceptional condition. The 1982 Thomas Jefferson Nickel belongs to that last category. At first glance, it appears ordinary. But beneath its familiar design lies a world of history, craftsmanship, and collector fascination. The next time you receive change from a store, take a closer look at the nickels in your hand. You might spot the year 1982. You might see that small D mint mark from Denver. And you might begin wondering where that coin has been for the last 4 decades. Because somewhere among millions of ordinary nickels could be an exceptional survivor waiting to be discovered. And that raises an intriguing question. How many valuable coins have already passed through your hands without you ever noticing? Could a simple 5-cent coin sitting in an old drawer be worth far more than its face value? Most people would never think twice about a nickel from 1983. They spend them, lose them, or leave them forgotten in jars for decades. But what if one particular 1983 Jefferson nickel could be hiding a surprising story, a collector's treasure, and even a value that most people never expect? Today, we're taking a closer look at the 1983 Philadelphia Mint Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that millions of Americans handled without realizing that some examples would eventually attract serious attention from collectors. While most are worth only 5 cents, certain pieces have become highly desirable, and a few have sold for remarkable amounts of money. To understand why, we first need to travel back to 1983. The United States was emerging from a difficult economic period. Personal computers were beginning to enter homes, cable television was expanding, and America was experiencing rapid technological change. At the same time, the United States Mint continued producing billions of coins for everyday commerce. Among those coins was the Jefferson Nickel, a design that Americans had already known for decades. First introduced in 1938, the Jefferson Nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and featured one of America's most important founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. The 1983 Jefferson Nickel was struck at several mint facilities, including Philadelphia. For many years, coins from the Philadelphia Mint often carried no mint mark. However, by 1983, Philadelphia nickels featured the letter P, making them easy to identify. Millions upon millions of these coins entered circulation. People used them in vending machines, parking meters, grocery stores, and countless everyday transactions. Because they were so common, almost nobody considered saving them. But that assumption would eventually change. The obverse, or front side, of the coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson. The image was based on a sculpture by artist Felix Schlag, whose design won a national competition decades earlier. Around Jefferson's portrait are the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1983. On the reverse side is one of America's most famous homes, Monticello, Jefferson's plantation estate in Virginia. Above the building appears the word Monticello, while the inscriptions E Pluribus Unum and United States of America surround the design. At the bottom is the denomination, 5 cents. At first glance, nothing about the coin seems unusual. But collectors know that rarity doesn't always come from low mintage numbers. Sometimes rarity comes from condition. Sometimes it comes from unusual mint errors. And sometimes it comes from details that most people never notice. The 1983 Philadelphia Jefferson Nickel was struck using a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This metal mixture had been used for decades and gave the coin its familiar silver appearance. Because nickels are relatively hard coins, many survived circulation better than pennies. However, that doesn't mean high-quality examples are easy to find. Most entered circulation immediately and accumulated scratches, dents, and wear from daily use. As years passed, truly pristine examples became much scarcer than many people expected. This is where things become interesting. Collectors use grading systems to evaluate a coin's condition. A coin that has circulated for years might be graded at a lower level, while a coin preserved perfectly from the day it left the mint can receive a much higher grade. For the 1983 Jefferson Nickel, the difference between an average coin and a top-quality example can mean the difference between 5 cents and hundreds of dollars. One especially important designation is known as full steps. If you look closely at Monticello on the reverse side, you can see steps leading to the entrance. On many coins, these steps appear weak, blurred, or incomplete because of striking pressure during production. Collectors prize coins that display sharp, complete steps across the entire staircase. These are called full steps examples. Finding a 1983 Jefferson Nickel with strong full steps and exceptional preservation is much more difficult than finding an ordinary example. As a result, collectors often compete fiercely for these coins when they appear at auction. Some high-grade examples have sold for hundreds of dollars, and the finest known specimens have reached even higher values depending on certification, market demand, and overall quality. But condition isn't the only reason collectors pay attention to this coin. Mint errors also play a role. Throughout history, the mint has occasionally produced coins with mistakes. These errors can happen during die preparation, striking, or handling. Some 1983 Jefferson Nickels have been reported with off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or other unusual production abnormalities. While not every error coin is valuable, dramatic and well-documented examples can attract strong collector interest. The more unusual the error and the better the coin's condition, the more desirable it can become. This combination of condition rarity and potential mint errors has transformed what many people consider an ordinary nickel into a fascinating collectible. Naturally, this raises an important question. How much are these coins actually worth? For a heavily circulated example, the answer is usually simple. Most remain worth only face value or a small premium. Coins in lightly circulated condition may sell for modest amounts, often just a few dollars. Uncirculated examples with strong eye appeal can command significantly more. Certified coins graded at very high levels can reach values ranging from dozens to hundreds of dollars. Exceptional full steps examples may attract even stronger prices because collectors assembling top-quality sets need them to complete their collections. Auction records over the years have shown that elite condition specimens often surprise people who assumed every modern nickel was common. Of course, values change over time as collector demand rises and falls, but one lesson remains consistent. Condition matters. Two coins with the same date and mint mark can have dramatically different values depending on preservation quality. This leads to another important topic. How can you tell whether a 1983 Jefferson Nickel is genuine? Fortunately, authenticating this coin starts with a few simple observations. First, check the date. It should clearly read 1983. Next, look for the mint mark P, which appears on the obverse near Jefferson's portrait. Examine the overall design. Jefferson's portrait and Monticello should display proper details without signs of alteration. The coin should weigh approximately 5 grams and have the standard nickel composition. Be cautious if a coin appears modified, unusually colored, or altered in a way that seems suspicious. Many online listings make exaggerated claims about ordinary coins. Just because someone asks thousands of dollars for a coin does not mean it is actually worth that amount. Experienced collectors rely on professional grading services and verified sales records rather than asking prices. If you believe you have an exceptional example, especially one with full steps or a possible mint error, obtaining a professional evaluation may be worthwhile. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is that hidden treasures often look completely ordinary. A person might inherit a jar of change, discover an old collection in a closet, or find forgotten coins in a family safe. Among those coins could be pieces that have quietly increased in value over the years. The 1983 Jefferson Nickel perfectly illustrates this idea. It isn't made of gold. It isn't centuries old. It wasn't struck in tiny numbers. Yet collectors continue searching for outstanding examples because quality and scarcity can emerge in unexpected ways. There are also some interesting facts surrounding the Jefferson Nickel series itself. Thomas Jefferson appears on one side, while his famous home appears on the other, creating one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The Jefferson Nickel survived numerous changes in American coinage and remained a familiar part of daily life for generations. During World War II, special silver alloy nickels were even produced to conserve strategic metals for the war effort. By 1983, the series already had a rich history stretching back 45 years. Every Jefferson Nickel represents a small piece of American history, connecting everyday commerce with national heritage. Collectors appreciate that connection. Some enjoy building complete date and mint collections. Others specialize in high-grade examples. Many focus on full-step specimens. And some simply enjoy the thrill of searching through rolls of coins, hoping to discover something extraordinary. That hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when a seemingly ordinary coin will reveal hidden value. The 1983 Jefferson Nickel continues to remind collectors of that fact. At first glance, it's just another 5-cent coin from the early 1980s. But a closer look reveals a story of American history, mint craftsmanship, collector competition, and the surprising importance of preservation. The next time you come across an old nickel, don't dismiss it too quickly. Look closely at the date. Check the mint mark. Examine the condition. Study the steps on Monticello. You may discover details that millions of people overlooked. And who knows, somewhere in a forgotten coin jar, tucked away in a drawer, or resting inside an old family collection, another remarkable 1983 Jefferson Nickel could still be waiting to be found. A coin once worth only 5 cents may be carrying a story, and perhaps a value that most people never imagined. What if the nickel sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 5 cents? Most people never look twice at a Jefferson Nickel. They spend it, drop it into a jar, or forget about it entirely. But hidden among millions of ordinary coins is one particular nickel that has caught the attention of collectors across America. It's the 1987 Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that may seem common at first glance. Yet certain examples have sold for surprisingly high prices. So what makes this coin special? Why do collectors search through rolls of nickels hoping to find one? And could you have a valuable example hiding somewhere in your home right now? Let's take a closer look at the fascinating story of the 1987 Jefferson Nickel. The year was 1987. Ronald Reagan was serving as President of the United States. The Cold War was still ongoing, personal computers were becoming more common, and millions of Americans carried cash every day for even the smallest purchases. During that year, the United States Mint continued producing one of America's longest-running coin designs, the Jefferson Nickel. First introduced in 1938, the coin honored Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. By 1987, the Jefferson Nickel had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years. Most people considered it an ordinary coin. Yet every year of production tells its own story, and the 1987 D issue would eventually become an interesting piece for collectors. The D Mint mark on this coin indicates that it was produced at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The Denver facility was one of the busiest coin-producing locations in the country, striking hundreds of millions of coins annually. In 1987, the Denver Mint produced more than 411 million Jefferson Nickels. At first glance, that number suggests the coin should be extremely common. And in many ways, it is. millions were released into circulation and used in everyday commerce across the United States. But as experienced collectors know, rarity is not always about how many coins were originally made. Sometimes the real value comes from condition, preservation, and unusual minting characteristics. The design of the 1987 Jefferson Nickel remained largely unchanged from previous years. On the front, or obverse, appears a portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. The word Liberty appears beside him along with the date 1987. Just beneath the date is the small D mint mark indicating production at Denver. The portrait was created by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design won a national competition in the late 1930s. His artwork became one of the most recognizable coin portraits in American history. On the reverse side is Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, located in Virginia. Above the building appears the motto E pluribus unum. Below it are the words Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. For decades, Americans carried this design without realizing they were holding a miniature tribute to one of the nation's most influential founders. The coin itself is made from a copper-nickel composition. Although it is called a nickel, the coin actually contains 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs exactly 5 grams and measures just over 21 millimeters across. Because of this durable metal mixture, Jefferson Nickels often survive circulation better than pennies and some other denominations. Even so, most examples eventually develop scratches, wear, and damage from years of use. This is where the story becomes interesting. While millions of 1987 nickels were produced, very few survived in perfect condition. Collectors place enormous importance on coin grades. A nickel that has never entered circulation and retains its original mint luster can be worth dramatically more than an example that spent years passing from hand to hand. Finding a 1987 nickel in average circulated condition is easy. Finding one that appears almost exactly as it did on the day it left the mint is much harder. Some of the most desirable examples are known as full steps nickels. If you look closely at the image of Monticello on the reverse, you'll notice a series of steps leading to the building entrance. On many coins, these steps appear weak or partially blended together due to striking quality. However, on certain exceptionally well-struck coins, the steps appear sharp and fully separated. Collectors refer to these as full steps examples, and they are often worth significantly more than ordinary pieces. This single detail can transform a common nickel into a highly sought-after collectible. Another reason collectors pay attention to the 1987 nickel is the possibility of mint errors. Mint errors occur when something unusual happens during the coin production process. These mistakes can include off-center strikes, double designs, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other manufacturing anomalies. Although most 1987 nickels are normal, genuine error coins from this year can attract strong interest from collectors. A dramatic mint error is often much rarer than the standard coin itself. Imagine 2 nickels made on the same day. One is perfectly normal and worth only a small amount above face value. The other has a significant minting mistake and suddenly becomes a unique conversation piece that collectors compete to own. That difference can mean a surprisingly large increase in value. Now let's talk about actual market prices. A typical circulated 1987 Jefferson Nickel remains worth close to face value. Even uncirculated examples are usually affordable for beginning collectors. However, premium quality specimens tell a different story. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services have sold for hundreds of dollars. Some top-grade examples with strong strike characteristics and exceptional preservation have achieved prices that surprise people who assume all nickels are common. The exact value depends on factors such as condition, grading, eye appeal, and collector demand at the time of sale. One reason these prices can climb so high is simple mathematics. Hundreds of millions may have been produced, but only a tiny fraction survived in nearly perfect condition. Every scratch, contact mark, and handling mistake reduces the number of elite examples available to collectors. As the population of top-grade coins remains limited, competition among collectors increases. This is a pattern seen throughout the coin collecting world. The rarest coins are not always those with the lowest mintages. Sometimes they are the coins that are hardest to find in outstanding condition. If you think you may have a 1987 D nickel, how can you identify an authentic example? The first step is checking the date. Look for the year 1987 on the front of the coin. Next, find the small D mint mark near the date. The portrait of Jefferson should display normal design details consistent with official United States mint production. The reverse should feature Monticello with proper lettering and spacing. Pay attention to the coin's weight and dimensions if you have access to measuring tools. Authentic examples should weigh approximately 5 grams. Counterfeit Jefferson Nickels are not particularly common because the face value is so low. However, altered coins do exist, especially when someone attempts to create the appearance of a rare error. Collectors should be cautious when evaluating unusual coins. When a potentially valuable specimen is discovered, many experts recommend professional authentication and grading. A certified coin provides confidence that the piece is genuine and accurately evaluated. There are also several fascinating facts surrounding the Jefferson Nickel series. Many Americans are surprised to learn that the design remained largely unchanged for more than 60 years. Few circulating coins in American history enjoyed such a long, uninterrupted run. Another interesting detail involves Monticello itself. Jefferson personally designed many aspects of his famous estate. The building became one of the most recognizable homes ever featured on an American coin. The Jefferson nickel also played an important role during World War II. Special wartime nickels were produced using a different metal composition to conserve strategic resources needed for the war effort. Although the 1987 D coin came decades later, it remains part of that larger historical story. For many collectors, the appeal of the 1987 D nickel goes beyond its value. It represents a snapshot of America during the late 1980s. Every coin serves as a small time capsule. It passed through grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, banks, and countless pockets across the nation. Each one quietly witnessed everyday life during a particular moment in history. Collectors enjoy imagining where a coin has traveled and whose hands may have held it over the years. The search itself is also part of the excitement. Many hobbyists still examine rolls of nickels from banks, hoping to uncover a high-grade example, a full-step specimen, or an unexpected mint error. The possibility that something valuable could be hiding in plain sight keeps the hobby exciting. Unlike many collectibles that require large investments, coin collecting often begins with simple curiosity. A single nickel can spark a lifelong interest in history, art, economics, and American culture. And that's exactly why coins like the 1987 D Jefferson Nickel continue to attract attention decades after they were made. Most examples are ordinary. Some are worth only a few cents. Yet a select few stand out because of their remarkable condition, sharp strike, or unusual characteristics. Those are the coins collectors dream about finding. So the next time you come across a handful of spare change, take a closer look before spending it. That worn nickel might simply be worth 5 cents. Or it might be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And somewhere right now, tucked away in a forgotten coin jar, old piggy bank, or dusty collection, a nearly perfect 1987 D Jefferson Nickel may still be waiting for someone to recognize its true value. The question is simple. Could that someone be you? The coin sitting quietly in a forgotten jar, tucked away in an old dresser drawer, or mixed inside a handful of spare change might not look special at first glance. But what if one ordinary-looking nickel from 1989 could tell a fascinating story about American history, dedicated collectors, and the surprising world of rare coin discoveries? Today, we're taking a closer look at the 1989 D. Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, yet one that continues to attract attention from collectors decades later. The 1989 D. Jefferson Nickel was produced at the Denver Mint during a period when the United States was experiencing major changes. The Cold War was nearing its end, technology was rapidly advancing, and everyday transactions still relied heavily on physical cash. Every time someone bought a newspaper, a soda, or a gallon of gas, coins like the 1989 D nickel changed hands countless times. At first glance, this coin appears simple. On the front is the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the nation's third president. Jefferson had appeared on the nickel since 1938, replacing the buffalo nickel design. The portrait used in 1989 was based on a sculpture created by artist Felix Schlag, whose winning design became one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The small D mint mark located on the front of the coin indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. This tiny letter is important because it tells collectors exactly where the coin was produced. While Philadelphia and Denver both manufactured Jefferson Nickels during 1989, each mint produced its own version. Turning the coin over reveals one of America's most recognizable buildings, Monticello. This beautiful Virginia estate was designed by Thomas Jefferson himself and served as his home for many years. The image of Monticello had appeared on Jefferson Nickels since their introduction in 1938 and remained on the reverse until the design changes of the early 2000s. The 1989 D Jefferson Nickel was made from a composition that had become standard for U.S. nickels. Unlike pennies, which have changed metal compositions several times over the years, nickels continued using a blend of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This gave the coin its distinctive silver appearance and durable structure. More than 570 million 1989 D nickels were struck at the Denver Mint. That number alone tells us something important. This is not a rare coin in the traditional sense. Millions survived, and many can still be found in circulation, coin collections, and old coin jars across the country. So if so many were made, why do collectors care about the 1989 D Jefferson Nickel? The answer lies in condition, rarity within quality grades, and the possibility of valuable mint errors. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. Two coins from the same year and mint can have dramatically different values depending on how well they were preserved. Most 1989 D nickels entered circulation immediately after being struck. They bounced around cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and bank rolls for years. As a result, many surviving examples show scratches, worn surfaces, and signs of heavy use. However, a small percentage escaped circulation altogether. These coins remained in mint condition, preserving their original luster and sharp details. Collectors refer to these as mint state examples. The higher the grade, the more desirable the coin becomes. One of the most important factors specialists examine is the condition of the steps leading up to Monticello on the reverse side. Strongly struck nickels can display clearly visible stair steps. Collectors often refer to these as full steps nickels. Achieving this designation is surprisingly difficult because even tiny imperfections can interrupt the appearance of the steps. For a common date Jefferson nickel like the 1989 D, the full steps designation can significantly increase value. While ordinary circulated examples might only be worth face value, exceptional full steps examples graded at the highest levels can command impressive prices. Over the years, certified high-grade 1989 D Jefferson Nickels with full steps have sold for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars depending on market demand and grading quality. These are not typical examples found in circulation, but they demonstrate how condition can transform a common coin into a collector's prize. Another reason collectors pay attention to this coin is the possibility of mint errors. Mint errors occur when something unusual happens during the coin production process. Although the United States Mint maintains strict quality control, mistakes occasionally slip through. These errors can make certain coins far more valuable than their ordinary counterparts. Some known errors associated with Jefferson Nickels from this era include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, double strikes, and die deterioration effects. An off-center strike happens when the blank coin is not properly aligned during production, causing part of the design to be missing. A clipped planchet occurs when the metal blank itself is improperly cut before striking. Collectors are especially interested in dramatic and visually obvious errors because they are easy to identify and relatively scarce. Depending on the type and severity of the error, values can range from a few dollars to hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is that many valuable error coins remain undiscovered. People often overlook unusual details on coins because they assume every coin should look exactly the same. Experienced collectors know better. Sometimes a tiny difference can make a huge impact on value. Let's talk about actual collector values. A heavily circulated 1989 Jefferson Nickel is usually worth its face value of 5 cents. Slightly better examples may sell for a small premium to collectors assembling date and mint collections. Uncirculated examples often sell for a few dollars, especially when they display attractive original surfaces. As grades increase, values can rise substantially. Coins certified by major grading services and awarded high mint state grades become increasingly scarce. Top population examples, meaning the finest known examples certified by professional grading companies, have achieved auction results that surprise many people. Some elite specimens have sold for hundreds of dollars, while exceptional full steps examples have reached significantly higher levels when collector demand was strong. This is one of the fascinating realities of numismatics. A coin produced in the hundreds of millions can still become valuable when only a tiny number survive in truly exceptional condition. Of course, whenever money is involved, collectors must also consider authenticity. Fortunately, the 1989 Jefferson Nickel is generally not a major target for counterfeiters because most examples are not extremely valuable. However, counterfeit and altered coins do exist throughout the hobby. If you're examining a potential collectible example, start by checking the date. The numbers should appear crisp and consistent with official mint production. Next, inspect the mint mark. The D should be properly shaped and naturally integrated into the coin's surface. Weight is another useful clue. A genuine 1989 Jefferson Nickel should weigh approximately 5 grams. Significant differences may indicate damage, alteration, or counterfeit production. Pay attention to the details of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello. Genuine coins typically display sharp features when well preserved. Blurry or unusual details can be warning signs, especially if other characteristics appear suspicious. For potentially valuable examples, professional authentication and grading are often worthwhile. Third-party grading companies evaluate authenticity, assign a grade, and seal the coin in a protective holder. This provides confidence for both buyers and sellers. Now let's explore a few fun facts about the Jefferson Nickel series. Thomas Jefferson personally admired innovation, architecture, science, and education. His appearance on the nickel serves as a reminder of his lasting influence on American history. The image of Monticello on the reverse is especially fitting because Jefferson designed much of the estate himself. Another interesting fact is that the Jefferson Nickel design remained largely unchanged for decades. Americans became so familiar with it that many people hardly noticed it anymore. Yet that consistency is one reason collectors enjoy studying the series. Small differences between years can become important clues and collectibles. The Denver Mint, where the 1989 nickel was struck, has produced billions of coins over its long history. Its famous D mint mark appears on countless U.S. coins and serves as a point of pride for many collectors who enjoy comparing issues from different mints. Many coin enthusiasts also enjoy searching through bankrolls for Jefferson Nickels. Even today, collectors regularly examine hundreds or thousands of nickels looking for full steps examples, unusual errors, or coins with exceptional preservation. The thrill of discovery keeps the hobby exciting. Perhaps the greatest appeal of the 1989 Jefferson Nickel is that it represents an accessible entry point into coin collecting. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to begin searching for interesting examples. Some collectors started simply by checking their pocket change and learning how to recognize quality coins. That sense of possibility continues to inspire people of all ages. Every coin tells a story. It records a moment in time, reflects the technology of its era, and connects us to the people who used it decades ago. The 1989 Jefferson Nickel may not be the rarest coin ever produced, but it demonstrates an important lesson that experienced collectors understand well. Value isn't always determined by age alone. Sometimes condition, rarity within a grade, or a unique mint error can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. So the next time you come across a Jefferson Nickel, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look at the date. Check for that small Denver mint mark. Examine the steps of Monticello. Look for unusual features that might separate it from the millions of others. Because somewhere out there, hidden among jars of spare change and forgotten collections. Another remarkable 1989 Jefferson Nickel may still be waiting to be discovered. And for the collector who finds it, that ordinary 5-cent coin could become the beginning of an unforgettable story.